Right, so here we are in the greenhouse, or the nerve centre, if you like. There's quite a bit going on. We should start here. Look, these are snake beans, or yard-long beans, as some people call them. These are all going down the allotment. I've already made the frame for those, so we'll put 2 at each cane. These ones here are borlotti beans, and these are all from saved seed. So we saved seed from the few plants that we had last year, and this is a result of half of the seeds we sown. So we could, in theory, sow another 20 and get another 20 plants. There's all sorts of other things coming up. So we've got things like chard growing, and there's a cosmos plant there because we grow flowers from seed. We could go down to the garden centres and buy them, and obviously we'd get flowers quicker, but it's been difficult given the current situation in the world with the pandemic and what have you. So, and sometimes I feel growing from seed gives you a better plant. So we've got some lupins, some hollyhocks, some more lupins here, and the ones that we sowed a couple of years ago are going to flower soon as well. So I think sometimes it is worth investing that extra bit of time. But there's all sorts in here. There's gypsophilia, which will probably go in a hanging basket. There's this one here is amaranthus, which also produces a crop, although we aren't producing it in any volume, but it's kind of like quinoa. Then we've got snapdragons, and there's all sorts of pink mallows, Shasta daisies, and campion. So we try and grow a mix of stuff that we can use and is good for wildlife. Some other things that we've got over here, some nasturtiums coming up. We'll probably put these in a pot and let them climb. What else have we got over here? So in this pot here, if they come up, are wisterias that we're growing from seed, which might sound like a waste of time, but it's not. I've got a Wisteria bonsai tree which I've been working on for the last 5 years, which is grown from seed, and it's doing really well this year. I might put some pictures on. Down here, these are interesting. This is thorn apple, or datura, or it's a member of the datura family, like Brugmansias and stuff like that. The thorn apples have a really, really nice flower, but it is a plant that's poisonous, so be very careful if you do grow it. Over here we've got various tomato plants coming up, all sorts. These ones here with the different shaped leaves, they're like a little round yellow one called Sun Baby, really nice to eat. And we've got the start of our squash crop for this year, so we've got all sorts of things coming up. We've got like butternut squashes coming up, uchikuri pumpkins or squashes, and then there's various others as well coming up. These down here, these are chickpeas, which we're experimenting with again. We'll see how they do. There's some other things that aren't coming up yet. And this pot is turmeric root, that one's ginger, but we'll wait until it gets a bit hotter. It may not have survived the winter. The chilies aren't doing quite so well, but there is at least, you can just about make it out just where my finger is. There's a jalapeno starting, so hopefully they will do well, because our chili plants that we overwinter are looking a bit ill at the moment. And leaf in the way there. So we've got some other bits and pieces. That's licorice there, lemongrass. This, I'm not entirely sure what sort of grass it is, but it's probably some kind of fountain grass. It's some from seeds that we saved for years ago. My wife put them in, not expecting them to grow. And this is what we've got. So we'll have to deal with that. We'll probably split it into clumps, put it into bigger pots, and then once it's a bit larger, put it in the garden. And over here we've got sunflowers and more sunflowers. They're everywhere. There's quite a few of them. We've got varieties. We've got black ones, giant yellow ones, all sorts. So these are all going in the gardens this year, but these will need to be hardened off soon as well. Same with the borlotti beans over there and these ones. These are our dwarf beans for this year. These will all go down the allotment eventually, probably in a couple of weeks' time. We've got some other things here like Mitsuna, and although there's nothing coming up in them yet, but we've got cabbages and broccoli and what have you. Some more sunflowers here, and this one is an experiment. It's new for us this year. This looks like grass, but it's not. It's salsify, and this you eat the root basically once it gets a bit bigger. It kind of looks a bit like a dandelion, but what we're doing here is we're growing two crops. One for down the allotment. There's one that we'll harvest and eat the root, and because it has a really nice sort of pinky purple flower, at least this variety does, we'll be growing it as flowers in the borders in the garden. What else? There's some other bits and pieces down here, some beetroots, and we've got kohlrabi over here as well. There's other things that my wife's been potting up, so marigolds, these all go around the tomatoes. It's companion plants. This is Russian kale, she's getting ready, that'll go down the allotment soon. These little things here, these ones, are tomatillos, which is something else that we're growing new this year. We've not grown them before, so that'll be interesting to see how they do. And then we've got some other bits and pieces coming up. So we've got hebe cuttings. We did have a big hebe in the front garden, but it got a bit leggy, so we took it out, but we took cuttings before we dug it up, and I think, yeah, looking at the roots coming out the bottom, I think they've probably taken quite well. Some of the other cuttings haven't. There's some hydrangea cuttings that look like they've probably failed, but I'm not fussed. We can always start again. This is a plant that was bought for me as a gift, which is currently hardening off because it's been in the house over winter, but it's spending some time in the greenhouse before it goes out in the garden once the weather gets a bit warmer. This is a tetrapanax, lovely plant, has really quite large leaves as you can see, and it's got this funny sort of furry stems as well. They call it a pith plant. They make pith paper out of it in China, places like that. What else have we got? Got some few other cuttings down there, and some Nepeta in the jar, which will root freely enough. It's always best, we found, to have extra because of the cat. I think these are cornflowers that my wife has potted on, grown from seed. These will go out in the front garden. And we've got some sweet peas there. Some amaryllis in these pots. So there, and that one, and those little ones. These are the ones like you can buy for Christmas, but we've never really managed to get them to flower again for Christmas, so we've kind of given up on that idea and we'll just let them grow normally. This was an unexpected surprise. So this stump is a Brugmansia, or it was, and it rotted down over the winter. I think it just got too cold even out here in the greenhouse, so we cut it off and we thought, right, well, if it doesn't grow back then we'll just bin it. But as you can see, there's a little green sprout coming, so in theory it should come back up. Our chilies, well, if you remember, we overwinter our chilies, and these ones, some of them are not doing very well, whereas some of them, as you can see here, are coming along quite happily and growing new leaves. So that's why we've planted new chilies from seed. So what we'll do is any that don't make it, like out of these and the others that we've got, any that don't make it, we'll get rid of and we'll start again. But even if you look down here, so even this one, where we've cut it right back, is growing new leaves, and you can kind of treat them like a shrub because that's what they are really. And over here there's all sorts of things going on here as well. So there's a variety of succulents which have gone mad, which we'll need to deal with. My wife has made a start potting some of them, the little echeverias up here, but as you can see there's plenty more to go, and these are doing well as well. Most of them are starting to produce flowers, as you can see, these little yellow ones, and then there's this one here. What else have we got? There's another licorice root. This one is an older plant than the other ones. The other ones were sown this year. This plant is over a year old now. And the idea being is we'll get it as big as we can so we can use the root. Then we've got this here. This is a celery plant that my daughter planted. It's got roots coming out the bottom. But it's actually just the trimmings off a celery that we bought from the supermarket. And it's starting to come back. We'll probably put it in a bigger pot to see if we can actually get some better stems off it. But it's an interesting thing to try if you've got kids. You can do it with carrots and stuff as well. And down here we've got pea shoots, which we've been eating in salads lately. And these are just the dried peas that you can buy from a supermarket, scattered over a tray of compost and watered. And this is what you get. And if you cut them, they do grow back a bit as well, so it's kind of like a cut and come again crop. And they're growing next to some of the herbs that we've got going. So we've got parsley, coriander, dill, and there's some basil there as well. And sage seeds, these are. The reason we're growing it from seed is because the plant that we had in the garden died over winter, which is strange because it's usually quite hardy. And I've had trouble actually getting a half decent and quite frankly reasonably priced sage plant. So I've grown some from seed to see what happens. But they are growing. Obviously they're a bit small at the moment and not very good for, you're not going to be able to use that in cooking, but they'll get there. These are very, very small gladioli. These are grown by my wife from seed, and they have produced little bulbs now, but it'll be a few years before they flower. And we've got various other things going on. Obviously we've got cactuses and stuff in here, and we've got other things like this is a cistus which needs to be potted on, and chamomile which we'll probably put in the lawn. This is some more chamomile. But all in all, we're doing all right. So the garden is coming along, the allotment is coming along, and we're slowly but surely getting there with the greenhouse as well. And you might have noticed that over the back here we've got more avocado pips which we're growing. At the present moment in time, I think we've got 3 plants in the house, the 4 seeds back that way, and then this one, avocado plant, which is now a good sort of 3 feet tall, growing from a seed. That's another fun thing to try, just grow them. It's quite easy to do. You can find loads of guides online. But anyway, so that's the greenhouse at the moment. Once the weather sorts itself out, and it's a bit more sunny, a lot of this stuff will get put in the ground and we'll start filling it with even more plants. Which reminds me, I've now got another dahlia and some other things to plant up. Anyway, so this is the nerve centre, the greenhouse. We only have the one greenhouse, but we do have several cold frames. We've got one up there, and there's one up nearer the house. And plus we have various areas where we're growing plants as well in the garden. So, yeah, it's coming along quite well, I feel. All right. Thanks for watching.